What is up, my friends? Welcome to a new video. In this video, we're going to cover my favorite exchanges in 2021 and my kind of ranking system for exchanges, because there are so many now, and then my workflow and how I use these exchanges. So I think this will be extremely valuable regardless of what level of the game you are playing at. But let me just get myself situated here. Got a new different monitor I'm using, so still trying to get used to it with how it shows up on OBS. So if I'm looking over here, it's just to make sure that I'm making sure that I'm in frame. I shot a video before and it cut off part of the charting that I was doing. But yeah, with exchanges, it's pretty amazing because a lot of us that got in 2017, we scooped up BNB at $5-6. We were all thinking it was going to go to 20, which it's gone over 600. I know people that are still sitting on hundreds of BNB. They are now some of them multi-millionaires, some of them deciding how they're going to spend that money, buy a house, buy a new car, buy a Lambo, whatever that is. And so there is something to be said about, just setting and forgetting. And that is where I think a lot of people, different topic, but I think a lot of people find trouble with themselves is that they start mixing portfolio strategies. They like this because this guy sounded good, this guy they look up to, Elon Musk said this, whatever it is. And before you know it, you've got like 15 different portfolio strategies inside your portfolio, and unless you have the money to really do that and the bandwidth to really keep up with it, it's kind of silly. So it's best to just kind of stick with one strategy. And I find that here too with exchanges is just because we've seen FTT, BNB, KuCoin I think is pumped a little bit, but a lot of these exchange coins have pumped, doesn't mean that every single one will. Especially don't assume that just because it's a lower tier or brand new exchange that they're going to somehow take off. With something like that, you really want to pay attention to the fundamentals and what the company has in mind vision-wise to see if it's even something worth hanging on to. Like, for example, I dumped my BitMax. It's BITMAX. I think they rebranded to something else, Ascend or something. I dumped that early in 2018 or 2019, one of those, and it did pump. I think it made it up to 86 cents or something like that. But that was one that I didn't really have a lot of faith in, and I got rid of it. And so maybe I cut that too early. But BNB was definitely one of those ones that I had faith in, because I knew that once I saw how CZ acted, who runs Binance, I kind of figured okay, this is worth sticking around. Same thing with FTT. Got an FTT very, very early, $3, $6, and now look at it. It's, I think, over 50 and trying to tag 60. So, okay, top tier exchanges. These are exchanges that will, I guess we could even split this apart further than what I'm going to do, but we could even get into derivatives, which is just like going long or short, which means that I am using leverage against my money. And that you could probably put in its own category. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of dice that out into top tier, because I don't really know mid tier and high risk or low tier in the derivative space. I just know of 3 exchanges that everybody really looks at as the best, and I'm going to list those. Okay, so let's start at the top. If you want to have exposure to derivatives, which means that I'm going long or short, and they have some sort of perpetual contract, whether it's an inverse perpetual contract or just a regular perpetual contract, I can go long and short on an asset. Bitcoin, ETH, Litecoin, Doge, Monero, whatever you want, right? That and futures, meaning that there's an expiration date on this contract, and it trades a little bit higher than a perpetual does, and it also has the fees and stuff baked in. Whereas you're paying funding rate every 8 hours to 24 hours with a standard perpetual contract, you are paying that all up front essentially with a futures contract. So if you want exposure to those things as well as just buying spot, your best options are going to be Binance still. And Binance has Binance.us if you're a US resident, or you can do some interesting things with VPNs. NordVPN link will be in the description below. That's all I'll say about that. I can't really say much more. FTX is going to be the next one. FTX also has a .us. Keep in mind that, unfortunately, these 2 exchanges, the .us version does have way less volume, trading volume, which means less liquidity, which means that we can't really get in and out of a position the same as we could on their .coms. So again, just keep that in mind. You do with that information as you deem fit, okay? These are really the 2 best, and they are quite different. Binance has a much larger amount of coins. They've got like their DeFi section. They've got their, I think it's experimental or something like that. They've got a different section where it's like deemed more high risk, and they're like kind of shit coins and lower market cap coins. And so you've really got a wide variety in Binance. I would say by far the most variety. The only other exchange you'd be looking to bridge some of those coins that you can't really get access to is maybe KuCoin or maybe Upbit or something like that, which I don't really trust those platforms that much. I don't really use them that much at all. And I couldn't even tell you the last time I was on outside to do a withdrawal on KuCoin. But yeah, that's Binance. So Binance, there's a lot of different areas, and unfortunately, it's actually very confusing inside the Binance site itself, is because there's so many different areas, and there's like the school and the training, and then you can do staking, and then you've got like bridging on 5 different wallets within the Binance ecosystem. It's just very strange because there's actually a lot of URLs and domains and areas to Binance that you can get lost in, and you don't really realize how much is there. So you need to go and explore quite a bit to find out, what you can actually do. But there's a lot. There's margin there, as well as you can go, there's bull and bear contracts, there's 3x long and 3x short contracts that you can do there. There's a lot in Binance, an absolute lot. And they do things like IEOs, if you want to call it that, or IDOs, whatever you want to call it. Basically ICOs, okay, initial coin offerings, like we saw in 2018, 2019. Binance still does that, we just have a new name for it now. FTX calls it the same thing, I think they call it IEOs. And so yeah, those both of the exchanges offer those. Now let's pivot into FTX. FTX is a little bit different, not as deep. There's not like 15 different exchanges in one. They don't have their own DEX inside of the FTX ecosystem as well. They've got Radium, which is one of their, I guess you could say, is one of their projects. They've got Solana that they're deeply involved with Serum, and that's got its own like exchange and wallets and DEX, which is decentralized exchange, whereas CEX is a centralized exchange. And so yeah, FTX has a few of those, just not as much as Binance. Also, too, the amount of coins that you can exchange and trade on FTX is not as much either. And so the amount of pairs that they have isn't as much. It's more, I see it as more a platform that really offers just kind of like the best, like all the blue chip DeFis like AV or Aave, SNX, Sushi, Uni, 1inch, on the DeFi area. And then it's got, a lot of Solana projects that are up and coming. It's got its own stuff, FTT, Solana, Radium, SRM, etc., right? And I think they're involved in Oxygen OXY as well. And then, so it's got those, and it's got your majors obviously as well. And it covers just like, the high volume majors. And that's why a lot of people use this, is they use that as their primary exchange to trade leverage. And the only other player that's in this realm in terms of volume and liquidity on majors would be Bybit and maybe Deribit. BitMEX still a big player, even though after they rolled out KYC in late 2020, their exchange has really suffered in terms of volume. But it was, BitMEX was like the pinnacle for the longest time. And if you've been around long enough, that that was like top dog for derivatives for the longest time. But yeah, I think FTX is looking at rolling out options as well soon. But yeah, think of it like that. So I'll get into how I leverage it and how I use it later. Let's actually keep going. Hey, Jay from the future here, and I wanted to talk about what's really happened over the last couple days from the 21st through really the 22nd of May here, and just how poorly Binance actually performed. This is a huge victory for someone like FTX, which is still an up-and-coming exchange. Even though I put it as a top-tier exchange, I think it really just solidified itself as as the exchange to go to. If you didn't know, Binance's API went down, their front-end website went down. It happened with FTX as well, but it happened for just like maybe 3 or 4 minutes, that the API was getting like weird to where it wouldn't execute everything, and you had to try and like put things through a few times. And the front-end website was definitely bogged down, loading slow, and it had like 3 or 4 minutes of downtime like that, whereas Binance had hours of the site being down in different areas geolocationally around the globe. They had issues with withdrawals. They locked down withdrawals for some assets. There was all kinds of issues that Binance had. And of course, Binance never publishes liquidation data now. And I think that's because the liquidation data is so bad now that comes out of Binance, because there are so many people using 100x leverage and using leverage that is way outside of their means, that they're being liquidated on $100 moves. So if you were on Binance, then I'm sure you already know what happened. But overall, I think Binance performed extremely poorly. The BSC chain was almost completely down. It was bogged down, and they had issues with that, which is Binance's smart chain. So there was issues with every piece of Binance, and that I think was extremely poorly done. And we've seen that time and time again. In high volatility, things are fine, but in terms of buying pressure, but when there's tons of selling pressure, Binance just completely folds at the knees and has all these issues. So I just wanted to jump in here and check in and let you know that if you are going to use Binance, those are things that even if you're using an API, you're still going to have issues with that, whereas FTX held up much, much better. Anyways, back to the video. So now let's cover derivatives, and what we want to cover here is, I guess by best, I think it's Bybit in terms of volume. I'm pretty sure it'd be Bybit.com. And again, that is for, all of these are for non-US residents, so NordVPN link in the description. And then we have BitMEX, the OG, original gangsta, and then we have Deribit. And Deribit also offers options, which has probably by far the most robust options platform in crypto. I mean, if you want to trade options in crypto, this is where you go. But we're going to kind of move these down, because this is just like regular exchanges where we can exit in and out with fiat as well. Excuse me. And these are, I think you could do fiat in here, buy with a credit card, but I'm not sure about these two. And these are, again, just mostly derivatives platforms. We are trading futures and inverse or perpetual contracts, and then with Deribit options. Okay, notice how I don't have Gemini, I don't have Coinbase, I don't know if there's another big dog in the US, but maybe Robinhood, using the Robinhood app, because they're trash. They're leaking your data, they're forwarding your data to authorities. I'm not saying that these two aren't. I'm just saying that those represent the highest risk to somebody from a tax liability standpoint, from a really a centralized and hacking standpoint as well. So that's entirely up to you if you want to use those. It is really easy, and that's the sell for something like Coinbase. It's very familiar and very easy. Gemini, same thing. But I don't have those because, one, I haven't used those in years, and two is I don't consider those top tier exchanges. They don't have many coins on either one, a handful of coins, and again, unless you have fund set up, 503 or something established in the U.S., or you've got your kind of tax situation all handled, then you really don't even want to look at that in terms of options. And if you're outside the U.S., then you really don't care about those. And I think my audience is both, largely outside the U.S. So you could look at those if you wanted to. I guess people would consider them here in top tier, but I definitely don't. So, okay, mid tier are things that are exchanges that are like a little bit sketchier. Maybe you're gonna find like your obscure kind of gems on there. Who used to be that one and they went under? Oh man, I can't remember the name of it. It was a New Zealand platform. It doesn't matter, but they went down, and they had a lot of like low cap and mid cap coins on it. So here, even though I don't have a lot of experience with them, would be like KuCoin. It would be BitMEX, even though I think that's Ascend, but I don't know how to spell it. It's like ACSENDZ or V or something. I don't know. It's weird. Just go bitmex.com and it'll redirect you. Today's video sponsor is PrimeXBT. PrimeXBT is a platform that allows you to come in with Bitcoin, ETH, USDT, and trade not only crypto majors, but also stock indices, commodities, and even Forex or currencies. So you get a wide range of access into assets that a lot of people around the world just wouldn't have access to. Maybe you're not an American citizen. Maybe you don't want to go through the hassle of getting yourself approved in your country to be able to trade these things. This is a great solution for that, especially as you start to make money with your cryptocurrencies. The first thing you want to do is gain exposure to more assets in a sense, to diversify. So here's what I got for you today. Very special. What we're going to do is I'm going to give away $100 in free credits. This will be $100 of credits that are added to your account when you sign up with the link below. What I want you to do is comment below with your best trade that you've ever done in your whole life, okay? Or the trade that you're most proud of, okay? Comment below. Then what's going to happen is I'm going to pick a random winner, and I'm going to reach out to you. And what I'm going to do is give you a promo code, and when you sign up for Prime XBT, or because it's got to be a brand new account, you're going to put in that promo code, and you're going to get $100 added to your margin trading account. Understand that this can't be withdrawn, and it will expire after 70 days. It's just supposed to give you a larger base to work off of, so that you've got more room in your positions that you take with your trading account. Okay, that's it. Enjoy the rest of the video. Who else we're going to put in here is, I don't really know where else to put them. So while we can get like altcoins and low cap coins here, I think you could probably put Upbit in here. I think that's relatively low risk. It seems to have a exchange carved out for most countries. Like it's got an Indonesian version, it's got a Chinese version, Korean version, and you have access to different assets based on that. Another one I would put in here is Prime XBT. Prime XBT is very different than the rest of these, though, is that it allows you to come in with, it used to be just Bitcoin, but now you can come in with Bitcoin, USDT, ETH, whatever you want. Like it covers most of the primaries in and out, and then it allows you to trade assets, commodities, and indices. So you can trade currencies on it. You can do primary stock exchange assets for the US, for Asia, for Japan, for New Zealand, for Australia. It's got a lot of really interesting assets like that. So that I think is a really clutch and key for somebody who is maybe just starting to make money or looking to diversify and get more exposure into, say, some traditional things, but not having to go through, the traditional means of getting approved, being a U.S. resident, etc. Like you can trade American indices and assets from all over the world. That is extremely valuable. There's a couple in this same bucket. I think another one would be Femex and Simple FX. Prime is who I like the most, and that's who I use. I have small amounts of experience with Simple FX. I didn't really like it that much, and I have zero experience with Femex. But I put Prime as a mid-tier in terms of risk. I think it's a platform that's still up and coming. I think it was much higher risk last year and the year before, and they've really worked hard to solidify themselves in the market. They also have their own internal coin. It's called COV. I think it's at 80 cents right now, or 50 cents. And I think I'm mixing that up with BitMax right now. One of them is 50 cents and one of them is like 86 cents. And so you can stake on the platform. The COV gives you discounts, just like all of these other exchanges. And that's where things get like really hard to manage if you're like on all these exchanges and active using them, because if I hold enough BNB, I get discounts on all my trades, and then I get volume discounts, and I even get some incentives. It comes in and affects how I'm able to access the IEOs or IDOs, whatever you want to call them, and how many tickets I get. Same with FTX and how much FTT I hold. That's why if you're going to be on an exchange for a while, you might as well get in the beginning, grab up a ton of the exchange token and sit on it, because if nothing else, if you plan on using the exchange, you'll at least get discounts. Prime XBT is solidifying themselves in the same way. We work with them. They're one of our sponsors. They're actually a sponsor for this video. There's going to be an ad in this video for Prime XBT. I really like what they're doing. They're going very aggressive with their marketing to grab up market share, and I think that they can grab up a nice niche space within crypto that nobody else really cures and nobody else really solves that problem. Okay, lastly, let's talk about the low tier, or what I call highest risk, because low tier sounds disrespectful, so we'll just say high risk. And I actually use some of these, believe it or not, for like scalp trading and like trading on a 1 minute chart when maybe I got FOMO, or maybe I'm sitting in front of the computer for a long time and maybe I'm testing out a new strategy or something like that. Is on low time frame scalps, I do use this, because on one of them there's no fees, and on the other one it's the fees are pretty cheap. I'm new to it though, so I'm not that great. Okay, so the first one is the Bit 7. I think they're still down right now. They've been down since the first, doing maintenance. I don't know if they're going to come back, to be honest with you. Again, high risk. And the second one is, I think it's Margex. Just testing them out. Similar thing. Be careful with these exchanges. You can go 60x, 100x on these. And that's why a lot of degenerate 1-minute traders use these. That's probably not what you want to be using those for. High risk would also be like a newer exchange and or a smaller volume exchange. And I don't really know what else to put there because I don't know of any at this time. So now let me just kind of cover how I use these myself, because I know that that's a very, very common question. We're getting up into the 15 minutes. Okay, so Binance, buying spot alts. That I think is a great spot to buy spot alts. FTX, longing, most of the longing positions, shorting positions, futures, I'm doing on FTX. Binance, I'm really not. And what I would suggest is to really understand how the leverage algorithms work on these platforms, like how the leverage works, how it affects the balance. Can I be negative? Can I not? What is liquidation? What does that mean? Understand like what you're actually signing up for before you get involved, because FTX especially is so different than Binance. Like FTX, you can leverage margin based on your balance. You can carry a negative USD balance or negative USD balance. You can carry some negative balancing going on from day to day. Liquidation doesn't necessarily happen the same way it does on Binance. Binance is very cut and dry. The leverage mechanism is based on how much you move over to that asset to use on that asset's leveraged version. So like, let's say I wanted to trade a YFI. They have a YFI to USD where I bring in either YFI or USD to be the asset, and however much I have in that account, when that's what they base liquidation off of. So it doesn't touch my main account, it doesn't touch my non-leverage account, it doesn't touch anything but literally that asset pair and how much I've, given it permission to use, okay? And that's isolated. I think there's a cross version as well I've never used, and I believe that's where it starts to group more of your assets and you can start to lose more and you can wipe your whole account out. With some of the wicks that we see happening on Binance, like REN happened recently, where it went to literally zero. I have no clue if they make you whole again. I have no clue if they do something for you. I know Bybit does. Bybit's had that happen a couple times where wicks took people out and they gave you your money back. I think FTX does that as well, even though I don't think they've had that sort of issue. And so very different. These are, you're playing with leverage, you're playing with fire. If you don't understand it, please read through their documentation to understand. Some of them are perpetual, some of them are inverse, some of them offer both. Some of them offer USDT as the denominator. Some of them offer, crypto like Bitcoin, like BitMEX. It's Bitcoin in, Bitcoin out. Deribit, I don't know how that works now because it's been so long since I used it. But all of these have different algorithmic functions of the leverage, and you need to understand that. Okay. Also, too, understand that when things get, just to like kind of give now an overarching warning for all these exchanges, is that when the volume gets really high and volatility gets really high, meaning that let's say we're dumping, right? Bitcoin's dumping or it's pumping, then these exchanges like FTX and Binance, they tend to go down. So the front end goes down. So if I'm on a web browser in FTX, like, oh my God, yeah, I gotta sell, like waiting to sell, really bad idea, because it can become overloaded. This is how you can get liquidated. This is how you can take a bigger loss if you don't use stops. All kinds of bad things can happen with both of these. That's why what I suggest is if you're gonna be an active trader, you're probably already looking at something like this, but I use Quant Tower. It is paid. There'll be an affiliate link as well in the description. And they are incredible because they use API. You want to use some sort of API access to these two with some sort of nice, easy to follow user interface that will allow you to trade, set up your stops, your trades, etc., and then monitor it during volatile times. Binance has been known to go down. FTX, they've gotten a lot better. They used to be really bad like 2-3 months ago. They've gotten extremely better since then. So you can tell that they're trying to up their game. That being said, you still get bottleneck moments, and it would be better to use an API so that you make sure that trades are being executed properly. It's not blowing by stops. It's not ignoring them, and that again, your risk is being mitigated. Same thing used to happen on BitMEX. They used to hit overload, and and then all kinds of problems would happen. I do believe that they used to fix that and readjust balances, etc. I don't know about Deribit. Bybit can tend to get overloaded as well. I don't know of any API options for this. I don't believe that you can use this on Quant Tower at this time. Okay, mid-tiers, do I use any of these? I use Prime XBT, and I really just use that to trade gold and silver. I absolutely love trading gold and silver, especially against Bitcoin. I like the position sizing that they give you. It's really easy to follow, and you can start extremely small with just a couple dollars. If you wanted to get used to any of these leverage mechanisms, you should start extremely small, okay? And then high risk, again, this is really just like, you know when you get those FOMO moments and you want to jump in on a move and you know that you shouldn't, and you should wait until it completes the move and it, you know, closes above this or closes below that, but you're feeling FOMO and you don't really care. And so instead of going and doing something stupid on one of my primary exchanges where I'm putting, you know, bigger amount of maybe my portfolio or stack at risk, I go and I play in degenerate territory and you know, whatever 20x 50x on some of these moves in there, and that kind of satisfies that. Again, I told you I test out new trading ideas here, gain additional exposure on moves that I know are like slam dunks, and I know it's going to do this thing, like go up or down, and I want to grab a huge amount of leverage on that in comparison to putting, again, primary accounts at risk. I will not do that over here. I will stay with, you know, my 2%, 2x risk on these, and I will go nuts on these because this is money I don't really care about. This is money that's all grown from within this degenerate pillar of trading, right? So that's what that's used for. Again, you know, if you wanted to just completely ignore this one here, the high risk, just focus on top tier, mid tier, you know, that's entirely up to you. But yeah, that's the exchanges that I use. That's how I use them. And really, I think in 2021, we're about halfway through. These are the exchanges that everyone's trading on, everyone's using, especially here. Like this is it right here. These are the 5 primary exchanges people are using. U.S. residents, I would add as a caveat, it'd be Coinbase and Gemini would be included in that. But the mid-tier, you know, I know some people dip into these exchanges and use them, but I don't know, maybe Asia has a bigger user base here. I know that a lot of Europe and a lot of the Americas do not really touch into this stuff. Keep in mind, though, that every single country has at least one primary exchange as an inter-exit exchange. You know, South Korea, China, you know, maybe India doesn't because of the recent bans, but like, you know, most European countries, most South American countries, they have a primary exchange that people use to go in and out. Most of them don't offer leverage. They offer you to hold alts, you know, a lot of altcoins, but you know, I'd also put all those probably in a mid-tier, maybe some of them even at a top tier depending on what country you're in. But that's it. Okay, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this was helpful for you. If it was, comment below. Let me know anything that you got on your mind. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Share this with friends that you think will benefit, and be on the lookout for more videos coming soon. See ya.